FIRS has a human face. It is not our objective to kill businesses. If we kill businesses, we have killed employment. It also affects each and every one of us.
A very warm welcome to you as you join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Pearl Nemeka.
And I am Chiamaka Ohauchi.
So much furore has been generated in recent time over the action of the FIRS in placing lien on the bank accounts of defaulting taxpayers, as well as the use of this strain in enforcing tax compliance.
Business owners have been running from pillar to post, trying to find a way out of the logjam. Today on the program, we are going to be looking at the use of lien, distrain, and other measures in enforcing tax compliance, while arming you with valuable tips on how to prevent getting into trouble, and when you do get into trouble, how to get out of it.
All that we're going to do will revolve around a tax seminar for small and medium enterprises organized by one of the leading money deposit banks in Nigeria. Of course, the FIRS was at the center of it all.
You are all welcome to the tax seminar, which we have put together as a bank to share knowledge around, the recent tax drive, of the FIRS and the, implication on businesses and the impact on our business as well as a whole. The tax to GDP ratio, like I said earlier, is quite low. So we understand what the government is trying to do. But how they're going about it is what some of us, are not clear about.
The seminar is part of our customer engagement and capacity building programs aimed at boosting the growth of businesses. Essentially, it is designed at exposing and equipping our entrepreneurs with very important knowledge on taxation by providing a platform for the exchange of ideas between tax regulators and business owners on existing and emerging tax matters to ensure due process, compliance, and avoidance of taxation. This seminar will equally provide an opportunity for entrepreneurs to understand the rights and responsibilities regarding taxes, like withholding tax, value-added tax, among others. You would also understand why your banks have had to do a number of the things they've done, like blocking your accounts.
Mr. Emeka Obiago, Director Enforcement in the Office of the Executive Chairman, Federal Inland Revenue Service, was the guest speaker at the seminar aptly titled Unlocking the Mystery of Tax Process. Mr. Obiago spoke on tax enforcement and implications on businesses in Nigeria.
This is the process whereby the tax authority is allowed by law to compel a third party holding the funds of a defaulting taxpayer, like we write to FCMB. Please, FCMB, withhold this sum of money from John's account. That's what we do. Ordinarily, under substitution, FCMB is standing in a state. They ought to have collected the money and moved it into FIRS accounts. That's what substitution means. Standing in our place, collect the tax, and move the money to FIRS.
Mr. Obiago made some shocking revelations.
Do you know there are people who have turnovers of 1 billion every year that have tax clearance certificates that will show turnover 00, accessible profit 00, tax payable 00. Do you know there are people like that? There are many all over the country. This lien and substitution threw up those things. Also in this business, we have seen where people in a year have turnover of 200 million. They file, they pay their taxes, they have tax clearance certificates, but what they have declared as their turnover is not more than 2.5 million. So if you understate your turnover, the tax payable will be understated. We have seen a lot of this. We also had an instance where we wrote then 1 billion and above, demanding for 110 million. And when the people saw it, they decided to pay all the taxes due, which came to about 11.9 billion. They paid, no, that's the truth.
Quoting copiously from the enabling law, Mr. Obiagu justified the use of lien and substitution by the FIRS.
Under Section 31 of our Act 2007, we have a right to request the banks to give us information. And when we write to the banks to lend the accounts, not to release those monies, the reason why they write you, hold the money, is that if they fail to do that, we can request them to remit the money to us. When is substitution used? Refusal to pay taxes. There are people that don't want to pay at all. Cases of tax evasion, cases of non- and stop filers. There are people that got in, they have been filing, all of a sudden, they stop filing. There are many cases like that, and they are still in business. If you are running a business and the business is not doing well, please do a letter to your tax office. Let them know we are partners in this thing. Let them know the challenges you are facing. And as that letter is done, the tax office responds and acknowledges and wishes the person the best. And when things improve, start filing. So when we see those things, there will be no need for enforcement. And then other cases, breach of agreed payment plan. FIRS has a human face. It is not our objective, I repeat, to kill businesses. If we kill businesses, we have killed employment. It also affects each and every one of us. What do? If someone is owing and say, look, I accept, be it after audit, I have this quantum of liability. My cash flow is not so robust. Please, can we have this payment plan? I want to pay this off in 6 months. The revenue will approve your payment plan. You write, we communicate accepting. It's now your responsibility to pay. So when someone fails to meet the first payment plan, fails to meet the second payment plan, fails to meet the third payment plan, will he not say that that's his or her character? We have no option than to substitute. Normally, substitution should be, like I said earlier, having determined your tax, writing to the bank should move the whole money to FIRS account. We are not fully doing that. What we are currently doing is freezing of customers' accounts. Okay? When we freeze the accounts, it gives you the opportunity to go to FIRS or your tax office to review your records. You may have some disagreements on the figures. You may decide that, okay, the money in the account, you have a whole lot of plans for it. You want to pay over some few months. In which case, after you have done that agreement, is derived from Section 8G. So what we are doing is combining Section 31 and Section 8G that allows you to reach an agreement with FIRS. And the moment that agreement is reached, we release the lien and you pay taxes to us. So I'm sure those that are here will confirm that those monies that are freezed or liened or post no debit on no account had the whole sum been moved to FIRS. Had it been moved to us? It had not.
Another form of enforcement is what is known as distrain.
What distrain involves, there are people that we chain their businesses. Okay? You stop them from operating. I led the distrain to a major telco in 2016. And the most painful aspect of this enforcement is the VAT non-payment. There are companies that have collected VAT on behalf of the federal government, on behalf of FIRS. VAT you collected, and you have failed to remit those VATs. VAT is different from company income tax. You can tell me your cash flow, you may make profit without having huge cash flow. But what about VAT? that you collected. That's criminality. We had no option than to seal. You chain them, and then those people will be compelled. But it's not, enforcement did not just start suddenly. And the enforcement we do has a human face. There was an airline that had issues. Tax officers had sent letters, they've written, why should this company not be enforced? They've sent it to me. I had to schedule an appointment at the cost to the service, fixed a meeting to meet the chief executive and the financial officers of the particular airline. Because bad news flies a lot, but people never know what went underneath. Chief executive, sir, 6 months ago, you got a letter from FIRS on this. The chairman looked at it and said, ask the chief financial officer. They said, yes, we got it. What did you do with it? Nothing. Brought another one. What did you do with this? Sincerely, over 6 correspondences, they did not respond to one. I said, if FIRS decides to seal, other people will say, oh, they've started again, but they won't know that you have failed.
What, you may ask, are the fruits of enforcement?
When I was in the bank, one of the things I learned is that you do not joke with your auditor and you do not joke with tax people. You don't joke with them. An auditor sends an audit report, treat it as a matter of life and death. So back to the district, so we lock some of those places, and what that does is that it helps compliance. Imagine if an office on same line with you is sealed. You see our stickers, this train, locked by FIRS. What it has done is that people in that neighborhood will pay their taxes. Compliance levels have improved. And then some will ask, since we started enforcement, what have we gotten from this enforcement? Sincerely, if it's not worthwhile, we would have abandoned it. From then, May 2016 to date, 93 billion naira has been gotten. Dollars of that quantum and pounds of that quantum. This had come in.
The Federal Inland Revenue Service FIRS calls on all corporate organizations operating in Nigeria to register for the purpose of payment of taxes and obtain a tax identification number TIN. All registered companies must obtain a tax identification number immediately from the nearest FIRS office. You can also collect and return tax registration forms from the Federal Inland Revenue Service Engagement and Enlightenment Tax Teams (FEAT) on compliance checks exercise in your area. A company which is yet to commence business after at least 6 months of incorporation must pay a pre-operational levy of 20,000 naira in the first year and 25,000 naira for subsequent years to obtain its tax clearance certificate (TCC). Note that filing and payment of VAT and withholding tax returns must be done on or before the 21st day of every month. Register for VAT. File all tax returns as and at when due. Be a responsible corporate citizen of Nigeria. It pays to pay your tax. This message is from the Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Welcome back. We're sharing with you the proceedings of a seminar with the theme Tax Enforcement and Implications on Businesses in Nigeria, organized for small and medium enterprises by a money deposit bank. If your company suffers lien or distrain, what is the way out?
We want to make business easy. We have heard the complaints on this lien issue. The service has set up some lien substitution review committees. In Lagos, we have 2 offices so that the cost of running these things will be minimized. Awolowo Road office on the 6th floor, we have a substitution review committee. We also have at Agidingbi. We have in Port Harcourt. We have in Abuja. We have in Kano. We have 2 in Abuja office. If the account is liened, please what you do is have your bank statement, your audited account, current, have your tax clearance. If you have all these things, the few things they will check, your turnover, what's the turnover you have in the bank statement related to the turnover you have in the financial statements. Okay? If those things agree, they see evidence you have paid your taxes, the Substitution Review Committee will send a mail immediately to the group in Abuja, forwarding on daily basis, they forward the list of companies that have been cleared. And the moment they get that same day, they write letters to the banks lifting the liens. So there is no need for people to come down to Abuja for that purpose. We have set up an efficiency unit since 2016. An efficiency unit, you can send a mail or call the hotlines of the efficiency unit. And if they don't sort it out, I will also leave my number. If you send me a WhatsApp message, I work using WhatsApp. I do attend to things. Like I shared, some are in telecom business. We do not charge VAT on the amount you have sold, the cost of recharge cards. You can do recharge card business of 10 billion. The profit coming to you is not more than 40-something million. We know. So VAT is not payable on that sum. Even those in Burundi change. We had a session where the chairman addressed this. What we charge on, it's your margin, the 10 kobo, those are the things, the aggregate of it, that's what we charge VAT. That's the commission end. So it's not on turnover per se. The issue is, let us keep proper records. And when we keep proper records, some of these challenges, I think we'll be able to mitigate them to a great extent.
Record keeping is key.
Yes, every step of the way.
Do you provide goods and services? Then you must answer these important questions. Are you registered for VAT? Do you charge VAT on the goods and services you provide? Do you keep records of all your transactions? Do you file VAT returns? Do you remit VAT collected to government coffers? If your answer to any of these questions is no, then you are breaking the law. The law demands total compliance. Therefore, you must register for VAT. You must charge VAT on goods and services. You must file VAT returns. And you must remit all VAT collected on behalf of government within 21 days to the bank nearest to you. To do otherwise is a crime punishable everywhere in the world. VAT is prescribed by the law. Do the right thing. Collect and pay VAT. This message is from the FIRS. It pays to pay your tax.
Welcome back. We're sharing with you the proceedings of a seminar with the theme Tax Enforcement and Implications on Businesses in Nigeria, organized for small and medium enterprises by a money deposit bank.
Mr. Olalekon Oluwemimo, an assistant director at the FIRS, took the audience on a guide around the workings of the Nigerian tax system.
Tax compliance simply means submitting a tax return within the stipulated time, accurately declaring all revenues and deductions, paying amount assessed by due date. In other words, when we are talking about compliance, we are saying that you are fulfilling all tax obligations as specified by the law freely and completely.
On the various tax types in Nigeria,
we have what we call companies income tax, and that one is being collected by Federal Inland Revenue Service solely when you are filing your returns of companies income. Then we have tertiary education tax. It was formerly called education tax, but since 2013 the act has been changed to tertiary education tax, and it's also being collected by Federal Inland Revenue Service. We have the capital gain tax, and it's being collected by both the Federal Inland Revenue Service and various tax authorities. Let me explain. If you have a property and you dispose that property, let's say I, Oluwemimo, dispose my vehicle or building, and I sell it to Madam Smith here. Any capital gain tax arising from that goes to the relevant state internal revenue service. Are we clear? But if I, a company, Oluwemimo PLC, dispose that property to Madam Speed Nigeria Limited, then the gains, capital gains tax arising from that goes to federal. Then stamp duties is also similar to capital gain tax. The only difference is stamp duties is on documents, whereas capital gains tax is on property. So for stamp duties, it's being collected by both federal and the state internal revenue service. Then personal income tax also is being collected by both the federal and the state internal revenue service. I'm sure somebody will want to ask me, Federal Capital Territory, they have their own internal revenue service now. Why are we still collecting personal income tax? Yes, for armed forces, police, Navy, Army, and Air Force, their payee, personal income tax, is being paid to Federal Inland Revenue Service. And also, if you have Nigeria ambassadors outside the country, their personal income tax is being paid to Federal Inland Revenue Service. Then the question is, why? Why is it not paid to state? Simply because, you know, as armed forces, you can be transferred anywhere in the state. And that's why it's being collected by Federal Inland Revenue Service. Then we have the one that is familiar to all of us, VAT. I don't need to go through that. Then there is one that is left out, but let me explain because I know it may not be all that relevant to the SME. And that is what we call NITDEV, National Information Technology Development Levy. And that was being paid by some companies. Companies with turnover of 100 million, or they are into insurance sector or bank and financial institutions, or GSM or internet service providers. That is being paid to Federal Inland Revenue Service.
Mr. Olalekan went on to talk about tax filing and due dates, incentives for taxpayers, and tips on what it takes for a company to be tax compliant. These and the robust question and answer session will form the menu on the very next episode of Tax Matters. But before then, this appetizer.
If a company has utilized the waiver window of VAT that closed last year, and they have filed their accounts under the Voluntary Assets and Income Declaration Scheme, now the company has its accounts liened. What will they do? Number one. Number two, are they supposed to go through an audit section when the VAT Act provides that the company that files under VAT is exempted from audits for a given period?
On the VAT, VAT has closed, which we are aware of. There was a deadline set for VAT, but you know the attitude, some applied because there was a public holiday. You know, you see a lot in the course of this job. There was a public holiday within the period. The last day was to fall on a Saturday. Some waited till Monday, not knowing that they ought to have dealt with it on Friday. Those that filed outside that date, they did not comply with VAT. All those that comply with VAT, we have issued VAT certificate to them. And in their certificate, it was clearly stated that it is based on their disclosure and that they have disclosed accurately. So there are some companies that were liened under VAT. You know, some made agreements, statements that the amounts they were to pay within a time frame, right? Some, after they had made those commitments, went to sleep. So the lien threw up the matters. Some of them came to pay. And some of them came to clear up those amounts. But a company that complied with VAT, we are keeping to our own part of the bargain of the VAT terms. Okay?
Sure, you're excited. Remember, the only way to remain in business is to perform your civic duties as a good tax-paying citizen of Nigeria. Join us next week on this same station, same day of the week, same time of the day. See you around.
Bye for now.